Good morning. Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. My name is Elaine Bailey Freed and I'm co-chair of the worship committee, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our online worship. Our collaborative pianist is Holling Smith-Bourne. If you're watching live, buttons will appear that will bring you to our website. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, visit firstuunash.org and click on the With You Worship Portal button for all the information you need to participate in today's worship, including the order of service, joys and concerns, and our offering. Our opening song is hymn number 1001, Breaths.
Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in the crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
Good morning, everyone. We love seeing who is here in the chat window, so do say hello there or in the comments if you're watching the replay. I invite you now to breathe into your heart space and connect with all our neighbors worshiping online with us.
Good morning. I'm Gail Spar, and I'm a worship associate. Our chalice lighting this morning was written by David Breeden. time of loss, in this time of asking why, we light a flame of sharing. We light a flame of commitment. In this time of why, we light this flame, sign of our searching, sign of our sharing, sign that together we remember. Together we ask why. Together in sadness and joy we share light. Together we celebrate what we are together.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Diane Dowgiert. My pronouns are she, her. I serve as the developmental lead minister here at the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. The words for the call to worship were written by Julianne Lepp. We have not forgotten. In nature, we seek you. In the whisper of the wind, in the green new wood, your presence is near. We have not lost hope. In the dust of her desert, in the rush of a wave, in the rise of a mountain, your presence is near. We remember the cycle, in the promise of blossoms, in the dying of leaves, in the bare branches. Your presence is near. In this spirit we gather. Come, let us worship.
Good morning. I'm Marguerite Mills, she, her, your Director of Lifespan Religious Education. And our story this morning is about a woman named Kisa Gotami, who lived during the time of Buddha's life, when he had already achieved nirvana, and he was traveling to share his teachings with everyone. Now, Kisa's only child, a very, very young son, had died. Unwilling to accept his death, she carried him from neighbor to neighbor and begged for anyone, to give her medicine to bring him back to life. One of her neighbors said she should go to the Buddha. He was teaching nearby and ask him
if he had a way to bring her son back to life. And so she did. She brought the body of her son, found Buddha, and she pleaded with him to please help bring her son back to life. He instructed her to go back to the village and gather mustard seeds from the households of those who have never been touched by death. And then from those mustard seeds, he promised he would create a medicine to bring her son back to life. She was relieved, and she returned to the village and started asking her neighbors for mustard seeds. All of them wanted to help her. All of them wanted to give her mustard seeds, but they all told her that their households had been touched by death. They told her, the living are few, but the dead are many. She talked to the man whose wife had died, and he had so loved her cooking that although he had never cooked a day in his life, he took her recipes and he cooked her food, and he remembered her with every mouthful. And then she met the grandmother who had lost her grandson, and he had many, many, many pets. And so what she did was she took care of those pets as well, as lovingly as he did. And then she came upon the sibling who had appreciated their siblings' paintings, but perhaps not quite enough. And what they did was they made frames, beautiful frames for all of those paintings. And everyone who came into the house appreciated them. And then there was the teacher who had had a student, the loveliest of students, who had written the most tender poems and who had died too soon. But what the teacher did was put all of those poems together and had them published. And many people were able to read those poems and remember that student. So as the day became evening and then night, Kisa was still without any of the mustard seeds that the Buddha had told her to collect. And she realized then the universality of death, and with it, the gift that is life. According to the Buddhist verse her story comes from, she said, "It's not just a truth for one village or town, nor is it a truth for a single family, but for every world settled by gods and men. This indeed is what is true. Impermanence." With this new understanding, Kisa's grief was not gone, but it was calmed. And she buried her son in the forest and then returned to the Buddha. She confessed that she could not obtain any of the mustard seeds he had sent her to find, because she could not find even one house that had been untouched by death. And so ends the story.
Good morning. My name is Denise Couch. My pronouns are she, her, and I am your Assistant Minister of Congregational Engagement. It is my pleasure to add my welcome to you as you join us for worship. As Unitarian Universalists, our spiritual paths vary, but in this congregation, we have made a covenant together. We affirm our interdependence, celebrate our differences, and work for justice. We are a welcoming congregation, and we deepen our relationships as we serve our congregation's mission to create community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values in the broader world, guided by reason and compassion. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors worshiping with us. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you may find it here. All are welcome to attend our services, and people become members of this congregation by signing the membership book and supporting the church with their time and finances. If you are considering joining the church or would just like to know more about us, please contact me. You can find my email address in the staff directory under Contact Us, and I would love to be in touch with you. Following the service, we hope everyone will enjoy at least one of the online opportunities for fellowship listed in our online worship portal. The homepage on our website holds many other announcements of interest, which I hope you will read, and I have been asked to highlight the following. What will your car dress up for as Halloween? We would love to see it. Join the FUUN Halloween Day Parade at 2 p.m. on Saturday, October 31st in the church's lower parking lot. See the website firstuunash.org for more information. Our annual auction is now in progress and will end this Saturday, October 24, with a celebration. You can find everything you need to know to get in on the action at our website. Again, firstuunash.org. You may know that we share every Sunday's collection with an organization whose work outside our walls aligns with our values. For the month of October, our Share the Plate partner is True You Tennessee. You can learn more about their work with LGBTQ youth in our online worship portal. For now, we don't have the pleasure of passing physical offering bowls among us, but our finance folks have made sure that anyone, anytime, can access our online donation form at firstuunash.org. If you would like to mail a check to the church, please write in the memo line how you would like your donation to be used. If you want your gift to be credited to your pledge, please write pledge. If you write Sunday offering, it will be donated to our Share the Plate partner. Today, we have a stewardship testimonial from our treasurer, Bob Day.
Good morning. My name is Bob Day. I'm a member of this church and I'm the treasurer on the board of directors. Today, I'm here to talk with you about two things: love and money, or as some might call it, stewardship and the financial well-being of our community. Those of you who have been around the church for a few years have probably heard me say that for me, the way we use our money is just another way we express our love. It is a love letter in action. Sometimes we express our love for ourselves by buying things we need, like food, shelter, and clothing, or maybe even things we don't need but would really enjoy, like a special meal at our favorite restaurant or a special vacation trip. Sometimes we express our love for others by buying a gift or paying for a child's education. Sometimes we express our love for the world by making a donation to a nonprofit group whose mission we support, like the American Cancer Society or the American Civil Liberties Union. First UU holds a special place in my life, and I donate a greater proportion of my charitable gifts to this church community than to any other group. It provides a place for all of us to come together with other people who believe as we do. It helps us deal with the pain of loss, like Diane is doing this morning in the service today, and it helps us celebrate the joys of life, like marriages and the birth of children. I met my wife here, and we were married here, and two of our children were also married here. This congregation is a very special place to me. As your treasurer, I see on a weekly basis the love letters you send to this congregation in the form of your gifts and offerings. Last spring, 245 individuals and families made financial pledges to support First UU. As of today, over 150 of you have paid some portion of your pledge. Almost 40 have paid your pledge in full, but another 50 have not made any payments on your pledges. I know some people are waiting for the next calendar year to come around because they paid last year's pledge in this calendar year and they're watching their taxes. And I understand that. I'm hoping there are some of you who have just been distracted by the crazy times we're living through right now, and that you'll be able to pay some or all of your pledge in the next month or two, because our cash flow, frankly, is getting a little thin. Not exactly a drought, but slowing down more than is comfortable. This week, I had to ask our accountant to look at our outstanding checks to make sure that this week's payroll would not bounce. It didn't bounce, and that was a great relief, but it concerns me that I felt the need to ask. So please take a look at your situation, and if you can, send your love letters soon. I love you, I appreciate you, and I behold the divine within you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. In this season of virtual offering bowls, we are especially grateful for the steady generosity which allows us, both within and beyond the congregation, to continue creating community, nurturing spiritual growth, and acting on our values. We are also deeply grateful for your presence, and I invite you now to join in our weekly ritual of gathered community. Following the upcoming interlude, musical interlude that is, we will share the joys and concerns submitted through the online form, provided permission has been given on the form. All joys and concerns will be shared as usual with our lay ministry team. So I invite you now simply to maybe finish arriving here with us in this service and settle yourself comfortably into whatever space you inhabit right now. Take a few deep breaths in and know that you are connected to all of us, no matter when or where you are joining us. And as you breathe, you may become aware of certain joys, sorrows, worries that you have brought with you to this moment from the hours and days that have preceded it. And if you have a profound joy or sorrow that you would like to share with our community, you are invited to use our Joys and Concerns form to submit those to be shared to the congregation. Or you may prefer now to just sit, feel connected, and listen together with us. Let us listen. Ibba and Tom Surface have sent a joy. They write, profound joy for Bob Day. He has steadily reminded us of how to express our love for many years. Thank you, Bob, for your love of First UU. And Jean Klein sends a joy also. I was notified this week that the foundation has been laid for the chapel for the new YMCA in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The chapel will be called the Haley Chapel to honor and remember my daughter, Laura Haley. Jean, thank you for sharing the news with us. Carolyn Turner asks that we send healing thoughts to her granddaughter, who recently spent 3 days, excuse me, I'm sorry, allergies. Her granddaughter recently spent 3 days at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital for treatment for her epilepsy. And there's been no change since she was first diagnosed in September 2019. We will think of healing for your granddaughter, Carolyn. And finally, Bob Day says, I have a concern for all those who are suffering financial loss because of the pandemic. Thank you, Bob, for lifting that up. And holding these and so many other fears, losses, grief, sorrows, and joys, all those things that I know lie unspoken within us still. Let us join our hearts together in a spirit of prayer. Spirit of life and love, we gather together in this community to be reminded that love always flows through and around, between and among us, in our joys, certainly, and also in our worries, in our concerns, and in our deepest, deepest grief. In this season of so much grief and also so much gratitude, so much fear, and the occasional moments of joy and celebration, we are grateful to be able to bring our whole selves and all that is our lives together in this community, to gather, to celebrate together, to mourn together, and above all, to support each other. May we be reminded here of all those in the world with whom we can share the support, the love, the yearning for justice, and the movement toward that justice and healing and wholeness that we celebrate here in our time together. May we move from here to the world around us, knowing we are well supported, moving with courage and faith and hope, and above all, love. Blessed be. Amen. May it be so.
Our reading this morning is called These Days. It was written by Lynn Unger. Anyone who tells you not to be afraid should have their head examined. Cities are burning, hillsides are burning, and the dumpster fire of our common life is out of control. I wish I could tell you when it was going to get better. I wish I could promise that better was anywhere down this road. I miss dancing, bodies in something between conversation and flight. I miss singing, the way we trusted the air that moved between us. I miss the casual assumption that everything would be all right in the morning. These days, I am trying to be buoyed by the smallest things. A ripe tomato, a smattering of rain. These days, I am trying to remember that songs of lamentation are still songs.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May
If we were together in the sanctuary right now, I would pass a jar of mustard seed through the congregation. I would ask each one of you to take a single seed and to pass it on. And then I would ask you to hold the small brownish yellow seed in your hand, noticing its smooth texture and round shape. I would ask you to hold it to your nose and smell the aroma, its spicy aroma, and then let that smell remind you of the taste of mustard. I would ask you to consider how that tiny seed, if planted in the ground, would grow into a mustard bush or tree that could be as tall as 20 feet, producing edible greens and thousands of more seeds. When the jar came back to me, I would hold it up so that you could see that even with 150 or 200 seeds removed from the jar, there wouldn't be a visible difference in the volume of seeds in the jar. This would not diminish the reality of the one seed that you held in your hand. When the Buddha sent Kisa Gautami in search of a mustard seed from a household that had not known death, she returned unsuccessful. In the effort, she heard the stories of loved ones who had died. Through the shared experience of grief, she connected with people she had not known before and maybe would not have. In the time of Buddha, mustard seed was a staple item in Indian homes. The lesson of the story is that death is as common as mustard seed, that the number of dead always exceeds the number of the living. In that sense, to be among the living is a gift not to be taken for granted. In our time, what I have come to know is being referred to as the time of pandemic fatigue. In these times, we struggle to get our minds and our hearts around the enormity of the numbers of people who have died from coronavirus this year. Here in Tennessee, the number would fill the largest high school in Nashville. In the United States, the number is just slightly larger than the population of Knoxville. And worldwide, the number is just slightly larger than the population of San Jose, California. The numbers are staggering. Thousands here in Tennessee, hundreds of thousands in the United States, and more than 1 million in the world. If we were to undertake a mission like Kisa Gautami, seeking a single mustard seed from a household that hasn't been impacted by COVID-19, we would come back empty-handed. Our lives have been upended. The loss is immeasurable and is so much more than numbers. From the loss of familiar routines to the loss of human contact, the loss of jobs in many cases, and the loss of lives. The human impulse in times of crisis is to come together, to hold hands, give hugs, show support, and offer comfort. Yet, we must be physically distant from each other, and we must find new ways of supporting each other and giving honor to those who have died. Within the large numbers are individual lives now gone, each with parents and grandparents each with siblings and friends, with gifts and interests, hopes and dreams. Any who have lost a loved one to coronavirus knows this to be true. The PBS NewsHour has been ending their Friday evening broadcast by sharing stories of people who have lost their lives to COVID. It's like holding that individual mustard seed, honoring the inherent worth and dignity of every individual life. Stories from this week included Margie Kidd, who was in her 40s when she went back to school to become a teacher. She had a gift for holding the attention of her kindergartners and first graders in Ridgeland, South Carolina, and regularly said that learning should always be fun. Margie was 71. Another story was of Dominic Parisi, who started cutting hair in Sicily when he was 12. By 20, he had moved to the United States and opened a barbershop. For nearly half a century, generations of New Jersey families came to Dominic for haircuts and good conversation. Among his many regulars was President Richard Nixon, who came to Dominic for close to a decade after leaving Washington. Warm and kind-hearted, the 76-year-old father and grandfather brought his family together for dinner every Sunday. And finally, Adeline Fagan, who, growing up in Lafayette, New York, loved to pretend she was a doctor. Fast forward to medical school. The sociable student made it a point to meet all of her 144 classmates. She traveled to Haiti on outreach trips, and driven by her love for babies, surgery, and education, became an OB/GYN resident in Houston. One of 4 girls, her parents said that Adeline was the mischief maker and had a silly streak. A best friend to her sisters, Adeline was 28 years old. Telling these stories and others like them is how we humanize the numbers. Other than World War II, more Americans have died of COVID-19 than in any military conflict of the 20th century. The numbers are hard to fathom, at least in a concrete way. We wonder when it will end and where we will find enough hope and enough faith to make it through. There's another mustard seed story that is found in Christian scriptures. The story is that Jesus tells a gathered crowd that the kingdom of heaven is like a small mustard seed that grows to become a tree where birds perch in its branches, and that faith as small as a mustard seed can move a mountain. For Unitarian Universalists, faith is not about what we believe, but it is about what we do. It is about living faithful lives, living true to our principles and covenants. It is about keeping faith with the sources of wisdom that inform our Unitarian Universalist way. Sources of wisdom that include Jewish and Christian teachings that call us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Sources of wisdom that include the words and deeds of prophetic people, which challenge us to confront structures of power with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. sources of wisdom that counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science. At this time, when we can't hold each other, at least not in the literal sense, we can be held by this faith tradition that held our ancestors from centuries past and continues to hold us today. And to quote Bob Day, we can continue to send those love letters. Ours is a faith that teaches us that each individual life matters, that the lives lost to coronavirus matter. We are held in a mutual web of love and care, one that is made both of the fiber of our individual lives and of something that transcends them. It is a web that is greater than any one of us alone. If we were together in the sanctuary, I would now ask you to return your attention to that mustard seed held in your hand. As we seek to live in this time of immeasurable loss and unfathomable numbers, remember that the small seeds we plant today can grow into something large and useful. Our small acts of kindness and compassion, our work for fairness and justice, these can move mountains of hopelessness and despair. May it be so. May we make it so through our living. Amen, and blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend Diane. Please join me in singing hymn number 1015 in the Teal hymnal, I Know I Can.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I leave you today with words written by Martha Kirby Capo. May the strength we have gained in this communal hour sustain us as we resume the work that is at hand. This service has ended. May our service continue renewed.